Hello everyone and welcome back. In the last episode we covered the process of scouting Pribyslavitz, the optimal way to go through the battle, and the final confrontation with Runt. The immediate threat's been dealt with, and that means a chance for Heny to rest and recover. But first, if you enjoy the way we're covering the game, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more. Remember Sir Hans? It has been a while since Heny rescued him from the Kumans, but with the investigation into the Neuhof massacre and everything that went along with it, there just wasn't a chance to check on his progress.
I am, for all the good it does. The boredom here. Listen, Heny, won't you come with me to the Rattay baths?
He seems to be doing well, and Heny too could use a bath as well, so he accepts the offer. But of course, nothing is ever as easy as it seems. But besides the bath, Heny's services are very much in demand. It seems the word has gotten out of his hunting exploits, and Alex, who speaks for the Scottish refugees, thinks that could be used to provide food for the refugees that are still going hungry. It also seems that his service to the bailiff isn't quite over and done with, but this too is an opportunity for Heny to use his influence to help the Scottish refugees. A few jobs have come up that the refugees could take, and the bailiff has asked your assistance in finding suitable candidates, due to your high reputation with them. And let's not forget about the matter of the other camps that Heny overheard about while he was scouting Pribyslavitz. It seems that Captain Bernard has discovered a number of them near Rattay, and it falls on Heny to assist in clearing them out.
Hey, you there! Are you going to hang around here gaping like a stuffed squirrel all day and night?
Time to attend to me,
You can't pay
not?
for a bath. Clear off!
Certainly, Lord Keepin.
Well then.
What are you
Get
gaping
cracking,
at?
shall
Have you
we?
paid? No? Then get lost.
If you can't
Good
pay
day,
for a bath,
Henry.
clear off.
I'm not sure that anybody's ever done this, but if you follow Sir Hans to the baths, then you can witness a couple of lines that exist just for this quest.
What do you need, sir?
I need you to do me a favour, Heny.
Of course, sir.
Good. Right then. You've got to beat Zdenna at dice. I refuse to be the only one here with his arse on the show.
Regardless of whether you win or don't against the bathmaid.
Are you sure? What would I do with two naked men here?
You end up in the bath with Sir Hans.
Let's see how good you are. So this is how you recuperate from your injuries? Booze and wenches?
Of course. Is there any other way? So, what news, Heny?
Have you heard the executioner has a sweetheart?
You don't say. Who is she, a revenant?
No, a regular mortal. Her name's Elishka.
Elishka? I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
She's the wife of a man he executed.
Good Lord. Well, I suppose that's the only way you could get a woman.
Have you heard they caught a cumin at Bajeen Mill?
I heard something about that. Did you have something to do with it?
In a way. Believe it or not, that heathen bastard led me to some treasure.
Treasure? Now why would a cumin do that?
Let's just say I didn't give him much choice.
Nice work, Heny.
Never mind about me. What about you? Have you recovered from our hunting adventure?
I'm well enough, Heny. These baths are just the thing, and Zdenna here is very healing.
Anybody expecting anything else might have been accused of being naive.
Clara, bring some wine for the gents before they get cross.
But once again you end up at the whims of Sir Hans.
You know what, Heny? We really can't drink this local piss.
Oh, really, sir? Such mean words from a noble gent.
Clara, my most favourite bath maid. But admit it, my dear, the wine you have here is pitiful.
What's wrong with the bathhouse wine?
I'd rather drink the bath water. You should go and get something better. Ah, I know. In the cellars under the rat house, there's some excellent wine that Sir Hanush bought for us.
And you want me to go there and get it now?
I'd be indebted to you. And a grateful nobleman is the best ally you can have.
But one thing you can do is to turn the tables on him and take his keys to the cellar. There's a couple of lines specifically for this situation, and it seems that Sir Hans takes a liking to your clever approach. It's not too difficult to sneak in, but the difficult part is sneaking out without being detected, because the guard often comes down to his cellar as well.
Lord Capon sent me to get some wine for him.
Lord Capon, eh? A likely story.
If Sir Hans hadn't sent me, I wouldn't have this key, would I?
Oh, all right. Do what you like. Go and live there for all I care.
But regardless of how you do it, it's all a joke to Sir Hans.
You really broke into the cellar at the rat house?
I certainly did. I hope that wine's really worth the trouble I had.
I don't believe it. You really broke into the cellar. You're insane.
Nothing to it. I just used your key.
My key? Why, you sly rogue, you. You're craftier than I thought. You can keep the key. They let me in there whenever I want anyway.
There we get a small glimpse of the gap between the nobility and the rest of the population. Sir Hans is basically somebody who's never had to struggle for anything in his life. The rest of the evening proceeds with as much drunken debauchery as you might expect.
What? You want me to go flower picking now?
While you take a drunken detour to pick some flowers, Sir Hans nearly gets himself drowned.
Arse-n-balls!
Drinking will be the death of you.
Damn right. Is there any wine left? Well, don't tell me you don't fancy a drink after all that.
You can advise Sir Hans to punish him or to be generous. But remember, it wasn't that long ago that Heny himself was in a similar position.
What will you do with them, Sir Hans?
What, with arse-n-balls? I don't know. What do you think I should do with him?
He was drunk and insane with jealousy. I'm sure he'll be sorry when he sobers up.
But he tried to drown a nobleman. I can't just let him off.
He didn't know who you were. Anyway, if you let him off, you'll show that you're the better man.
I suppose you're right. Fuck him. But we had some pretty good sport, eh?
The next day Heny goes to speak to Alex.
I'm sure you know there's a lot of hungry mouths here, so...
Strictly speaking, it's an illegal activity.
You mean you want me to bring you game from the woods? Are you mad? That's poaching.
But one of the themes throughout the game is that the Skalitz refugees have to help themselves. It comes down to a choice between following the law and starving. Heny was able to help the Skalitz wounded in Sassau, and similarly he can help the Skalitz refugees here in Rattay. If you're role-playing as someone who follows the law to the letter, then you might choose not to do this activity. But given the lack of jobs in Rattay, the refugees don't have a way to feed themselves other than begging. And during his patrol with Nightingale, Heny already witnessed the kind of tension that it causes between the Rattay and the Skalitz folk. So arguably this is a way to de-escalate the tension between the two groups. And it might even be the case that the lordships wouldn't be against such a notion.
Well, I got away with brawling with Lord Capon, so I don't suppose they'll string me up for a few hares.
Though it might be wiser not to bring it up with them. Hunting requires hunting supplies, and that means a visit to Berthold, the hunting master. But it seems that he has a very strange request for Heny too.
What?
The area where the nightingales are supposed to be is also fertile hunting grounds, so it'll be a case of two birds with one stone. It's a dangerous area, but Heny is now a combat veteran, so he can handle general bandits fairly easily. When dealing with people like this, there's a number of options you can take. One is to kill them, or spare their lives like a good Christian is supposed to. But there is a middle ground you can take. One way I like to deal with them is to leave them naked on the field. That spares their lives and also gives them a chance to reflect on themselves. The Kumas are of course a different matter. It's likely that many of them wouldn't have been much better off than the bandits. But Heny doesn't have good memories of them, so it's unlikely that they have much mercy.
I've got that game meat for you.
Great! Let's have a look. Thanks, Heny. We'll get lots of supplies for this.
Good sir, nothing illegal took place here.
While you're in the woods, you could pick a few mushrooms too.
Next thing, they'll want me to cook it too.
I think we'd better quit while we're ahead. The Master Huntsman has got wind that something's up and the burghers are getting nervous. But you helped us a lot, Heny. Thank you.
This is also a good opportunity to speak to Teresa.
Can't stop thinking about Skalitz.
At the very least you can help her take her mind off what happened in Skalitz.
That was fun. Thank you for coming with me.
Maybe even give her a few gifts as well. It turns out that there's also things you can do for the refugees other than poaching.
You're the blacksmith's son from Skalitz, ain't ya? The bailiff here could probably use you. He's got some jobs for the Skalitz refugees.
There's a few openings for jobs that the Rattay townspeople don't want to do themselves.
I've been given the task of putting some of the Skalitz refugees to work. It's not that there's a shortage of jobs, the problem's sharing them out fairly. The worst part is they won't tell you who really needs a job the most, but you might be able to help, Henry. They're like to be more honest with you, so you can find out who's in the most need. And you can decide for yourself who'll do what.
Merchant Hagen speaks on behalf of the Rattay merchants.
Yes, yes. I'm surprised it hasn't occurred to anyone sooner. It will certainly benefit the city.
There's a need for 3 people to carry water and 2 to carry excrement, as well as a cook for himself.
I also heard that you need workers to carry, to empty latrines.
It's not dignified to talk of such manners.
As the saying goes, it's a dirty job but someone's got to do it. This is where having Alex as a contact pays off for Henry, but on the question of the cook, Henry would have to deal with it himself.
The bailiff told me about it. He still wants our people to do the knacker's job. When we return to Skalitz, they'll never be able to rid themselves of the stink.
Eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let the perpetual light shine upon them. And may the souls of all the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest.
That leaves Agnes. She's very dedicated to both religion and the priest.
Are you Agnes, who works at St. James?
I am.
The local merchant wants someone who can cook food fit for nobility.
I can't just go serve someone else. What will Father Francis do?
You can convince her to give up on her convictions, but it's a very short trip to Sasau, so it's not very difficult to speak to the priest and get confirmation from him. So Henry sets off in the morning for Sasau, while Alex gathers suitable candidates to meet Henry when he comes back. On speaking to the priest, it doesn't seem that Agnes's devotion is warranted.
And why aren't you with our folks at Rattay? What if Sir Rattay has need of you?
In Rattay, there's hardly room enough for the refugees already there. And what's more, the parish priest doesn't like me.
He's obviously choosing his comfort over his duties. And even if there was nothing that he could possibly do, he does still have a duty to look after their spiritual well-being.
Tell her I appreciate her concern, but to look out for herself now.
But either way, he's chosen to stay in Sasau, so that at least takes care of Agnes's concerns. It also seems that Teresa has an interest in the jobs for the refugees, especially on the question of jobs for Antonia and Vincent. She makes them seem like people who deserve jobs.
I heard you're picking people to carry water. No one needs the job more than Antonia.
Adam never mentioned any Antonia.
I'm not surprised, but Antonia really needs that job.
Can she cook?
What's that got to do with carrying water?
Nothing, but there's a cook's job going too. Much easier than hauling water.
I don't know how good a cook she is, though. You'd better ask her yourself.
Do you think she'll be able to handle carrying those buckets? It's quite far, and up that hill.
She's no princess. She's tough enough.
But on the other side of the coin, Henry also has a duty to the bailiff to make sure that he provides the most capable names.
It means I'll think about it. The bailiff has the last word.
Well, if he's got something against giving the job to a woman, then try and get Vincent in at least. He might not have anyone on their deathbed, but his mother has no one else.
When speaking to the refugees, it's important to keep a few things in mind, especially when it comes to giving out the jobs with the excrement, because it's such a socially stigmatized job. You have to make sure that whoever you assign to that job explicitly agrees to it. In addition, one of the conditions that the bailiff set was that he wanted to make sure that whoever got the jobs wouldn't waste the money on drinking or gambling. A couple of candidates are obvious, but one of the people you interview has to miss out. Usually to me the choice comes down to either Tonda or Cornelius, the old mine administrator. Neither is an ideal candidate. The mine administrator is not used to hard physical labor, and Tonda is a gambler. As for the others, if you help Rock with his broken arm, then he'll agree to carry the excrement. And in Antonia's case, it's obvious that she needs the money more than anything else. But if you speak to her afterwards, she'll give you more detail about her predicament.
He's badly wounded. So poorly he's been in his bed for weeks. Unconscious most of the time.
Sorry to hear it.
I already owe the apothecary a small fortune. And he won't lift a finger for us now.
Beneath thy mercy we take refuge, O Blessed Virgin. Disdain not our supplications in our distress, but deliver us from perils, only pure and blessed one.
That leaves Agnes. She accepts the offer once you tell her that the Skalitz priest isn't coming back.
Father Francis is doing well in Sasau. He has no plans to return to St. James anytime soon.
The final step is to speak to the bailiff and provide you recommendations.
Well, I tried the water carrying, but I have to tell you, it's not the best job I've ever had.
What's the problem? Is it that hard?
The main thing is it's a long way to haul a heavy load. And you can't even take a rest now and again. You can be seen the whole way. Good luck then.
The consequences of those choices don't show up until much later. For example, if he gave the job of carrying excrement to Vincent, he takes his own life out of shame.
I just do what I'm told.
But you're getting paid enough for it, right?
I make a few groschen, but Mother takes it all. Because she has to take care of everything.
Whereas Rock is initially angry, but he changes his mind when he realizes how much money he's getting for much lesser amount of effort.
At first, I was really angry with you for getting me a job carrying shit. But it's easier work, and the pay is better, so everything's worked out.
I'm glad you see it that way.
As for Tonda, if you didn't give him a job, then he'll be very upset and try to fight you.
Look here, you don't want to see my ugly side. Maybe you're not as tough as you think.
Those are big words for a whelp like you. I'll stuff them down your throat with my fist. Oh, it's dreadful. This is no job for a man like me.
But you asked for it.
I needed a job, true. But I'm too good for this kind of labour. And the bailiff still hasn't a good word to say to me.
If you speak to Antonia after she's been on the job for a few days, there'll be an option to try and help her with her husband.
How's your husband doing? Any better?
He's still the same. There's no sign of improvement, no matter how I break my back to pay for treatment.
I know a thing or two about healing. Maybe I should have a look at him and see what can be done.
I'd appreciate any help. But as I said, I can't offer anything in return.
Maybe I can help you so you don't feel so tired.
That would be a blessing from God. But how? Are you going to do the carrying for me?
No, but if you take this, everything will seem easier to you. Try it and see.
Thank you. If it's as you say, may God bless you.
I'm sorry, but there's nothing more I can do for you.
You've done enough already.
He's around at the bottom of the dried moats in front of the Rattay castle. If you have advanced medical skills, you have the option of diagnosing him, and you also have the option of giving him a Lazarus potion to help him recover.
The long sickness, malnutrition, and his wounds have weakened him. He needs a potion to get his blood flowing and give him strength. How are you feeling? Can you hear me?
Antonia. Run.
That's either fever or bad dreams talking. Wait a moment, I have something for you.
Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to lead to his recovery, but Henry's done his part.
It's a fucking nightmare!
On the cooking side, it seems that Merchant Hagen is very happy with the cooking itself, but not so much with the preaching.
She certainly knows how to cook. Her food is excellent. But her stories, more like sermons actually. All about the evils of Mammon, how Jesus threw the merchants out of the temple and whatnot. And it's all Father Francis this, Father Francis that. No doubt, Father Francis was a saint with infinite patience. Perhaps in time, she'll lose interest in preaching. I hope.
And when you speak to Agnes, it seems that the preaching isn't likely to stop anytime soon. So that seems to bode well for the long-term relationship.
Well, it's all right. Hagen is a decent enough, God-fearing man. If he didn't think only about lining his purse all the time. But I'll exercise that mammon out of him, St. Agnes help me.
Teresa's also very happy if he gave jobs to Vincent and Antonia, as long as Vincent isn't carrying excrement.
They both got jobs thanks to you. I'm beholden to you. If you ever need anything, just say the word.
Henry also hasn't had a chance to refresh his wardrobe, so this is a good opportunity to do so. According to our house rule, Henry has to purchase every item of clothing and armor he wears in order to make sure that it fit his measurements. But Henry also shouldn't get distracted from his duty of dealing with the bandits' encampments. This is a good opportunity to enhance his training with Bernard. According to another house rule that we use, Henry is now able to train up to level 10 for all his combat skills. Effectively, his level of training and his experience from Pribyslavitz makes him a combat veteran.
To arms! Get up!
Just like with the Kuman camps, there's many ways to deal with the bandit encampments. There's a straightforward option of simply attacking them all, but that's not a very advisable option if you're following house rules like we are. Another option is to use stealth to take them out one by one. But an option that's unique to bandit camps is to let the horses loose. That will trigger at least a few of the bandits to chase after them, so you can take the remainder much more easily. Aside from that, you can also use the same options to poison the food or the wine as you can with the Kuman camps. If you recall back to how I was wishing we could exacerbate the troubles between the Kumans and the Bandits, then there's a fun option you can take up. When you attack the camps, you can start wearing the Kuman armor you created at Matthew's behest. It's only a role-playing option, but you can imagine that the random battles that you see between the Kumans and the Bandits are partially triggered by you attacking Bandits while wearing Kuman armor.
You're dead! Bugger it! Go! Here! Come here, Lily. Show what you're made of! Oh, God!
When you report back to Captain Bernard after the destruction of the camps, it's wise not to give him the bandit ears, because you can get much more money for each one of them from Sir Sebastian at Tassau.
It looks like your work is done here at Rattay. I haven't heard of any other camps, so we may finally have some peace and calm. Good work.
Thank you, Captain.
But have no fear of idleness. I've sent word to Captain Robard. They're expecting you at Talmberg. There are Cuman hordes rampaging through their woods.
Very well, Captain. I'll set off immediately.
Glad to hear it.
Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to be notified when new videos are published.